Hello guys, my name is Carla. I'm 14 years old, and now I want to tell you a detective story which happened to me for real. And I'm actually really lucky it ended up this way. I was born in America, but my family comes from Mexico. My mum is a maid and she works in several houses on our street. I also have a part-time job. I walk my neighbours' dogs, which is so cool. It's always been peaceful and quiet around here, until that day. It was an ordinary summer morning, a Tuesday, so I had to walk Kelly, a golden retriever, who is my favourite. She's a really strong dog, so I usually have to hold the dog leash with both hands so she doesn't get away. I was wearing a light dress that day with no pockets in it, so I thought that I'd just leave my phone at Kelly's owner's house and pick it back up afterward, which turned out to be the wrong decision. So Kelly and I were walking along the street, and we were about to pass Mr. and Mrs. Ward's house. My mum was their maid, and I knew them pretty well, so I was well aware that they were supposed to be on vacation that week. But it didn't seem like they really were. Their door wasn't shut properly and their curtains were closed, though I definitely remembered they hadn't been shut the other day after they had already left, and the garage was open, so I got closer to see if their cars were there, but they weren't. And then boom, it sounded like a chair fell down. Now there was no doubt in my mind that somebody had broken into their house. My hand tried to reach for my phone immediately, but oh no, not that. I remembered that I had left it resting on the coffee table near Kelly's bowl. That was a big mistake on my part. What was I supposed to do now? I couldn't call the police, and I couldn't let the thieves rob the house. Oh, and Kelly could bark at any moment. I didn't have my phone, but there had to be a phone inside, so I came up with a crazy idea. Started humming a song and walked into the yard, dragging my dog by the leash, and I cried out, "Mrs. Ward! Mr. Ward! Are you back? It's me!" I tried to sound confident and relaxed, but inside I was scared to death. I opened the door and forced myself to walk into the entrance hall. There was nobody downstairs, but it was all messed up. Their cupboards were open, everything they owned was laying on the floor. The thieves must have been upstairs. I had to act quickly. I had to make it to the kitchen because their phone was supposed to be in there. I tied Kelly to the railing of the stairs and tiptoed, stepping over the piles of clothes and books. I still kept on pretending that I was looking for Mr. and Mrs. Ward, so that the thieves didn't suspect too much trouble from me. They were deadly quiet up there, by the way. So quiet, I think they could hear my heart beating. So I snuck into the kitchen, and yes, there was a phone on the table. I grabbed it and pressed a button. Can you believe it? The line was dead. All this sneaking around was for nothing. I was having some pretty bad luck today, and I didn't have any time to work out a plan B. Suddenly, Kelly started barking. Somebody was trying to get down the stairs. I hid behind the door and held my breath. That was close, but nobody showed up. I rushed to the living room and started rifling through my neighbour's things. All of a sudden, I saw a mobile phone on the side table. Mr. Ward must have forgotten it. That was my chance. I decided to not call the police so that the thieves could not understand what I was saying and would just stay put. I found my mother's number on Mr. Ward's phone and called her. I asked her to call the police in Spanish, and I thought that I'd made it, but the thieves were smarter than I had imagined. They got suspicious that something was up. I heard them talking and swearing and trying to smash the window upstairs. It sounded like there were more than 3 people up there. Things were getting pretty hairy. I'd done my job, so I was ready to book it out the door, but then I realised that the guys upstairs were thinking about doing the same thing. I heard them moving toward the stairs. I tried my best to untie Kelly's leash from the railing, but the knot was too strong. And then one of the criminals appeared. I couldn't see him properly because he was wearing a mask. It looked like we were in trouble. Kelly was barking fiercely, and I saw the man start to come down the stairs towards us. Game over, Carla. Suddenly the dog leash snapped, and Kelly rushed at him and attacked. It literally seemed like that moment lasted for ages, but then I finally heard, "Freeze! Police!" After that, everything was just a blur. I remember the policeman who helped me to get outside, and lots of people and police cars near the house, and my mum's really worried face. If only you knew how she scolded me afterwards. But yeah, that's my mum. Kelly was also rescued, don't you worry. Mr. and Mrs. Ward were shocked when they found out what had happened. You never expect these kind of stories when you come back from vacation, right? They invited our family for dinner, and we all had a great time together. Mrs. Ward said I'd been a very brave girl and that she was very thankful. But the deed itself was pretty stupid. Everything could have ended differently if the police hadn't arrived in time. I thought about it later and came to the conclusion that her words made sense. It was an unnecessary risk to get into the house with, as it turned out, 5 thieves. But at the same time, I felt that I'd done, something important. But I guess I would never have found the courage to do what I did if my dear friend Kelly wasn't with me. Anyway, it's all over now. I really wonder what you guys think about this. What would you have done if you were me? Do you think it was a thoughtless decision, or would you probably have done the same? I would be happy to read your comments about it, and feel free to share my story with your friends and family. Adios!